This is tutorial number 144, and it covers how to manually edit your sketches within SOLIDWORKS. Now to start off, let's open up a new part file. Let's click File, click New, click Part, click OK. Now what I'm going to show you in this tutorial is we're going to create a sketch, and then from that sketch, we're going to manually move the points and lines around without actually using something like Smart Dimensions or creating references. So to start off, let's click Rectangle, click any plane, and just sketch out a square. Now to manually edit and change the sketch, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the select button, and you might have seen me in a couple previous tutorials do this just kind of like by nature without kind of explaining what I was doing. But say I want to move this line and move it up, all I have to do is click and hold and then just drag it straight up. And then say I want to move this line here, I click, hold, and drag it across. So you're able to do it using lines, and you can also use points. So say I have this point here, I'm able to click and hold and then move it around, and the sketch is going to move around too. Now I probably did this in a couple of tutorials before, and this is just kind of explaining what I was really doing. I guess like the mouse procedure, the clicks. Now I'll do another one. You can do a line too, so click line, just draw a line out, click the select, and you're able to select the whole line, move it up and down. You can click the point, make it go in and out. Now if you had it on an angle, you can move it any way that you wanted it. Now you're also able to do this with something like a curve and a circle. So let's click circle, and let's just create a circle. Now just zoom in on it a bit and click the select. So with the center point, you're able to move it around anywhere. And if you click and hold on the outside, you're able to make it bigger, smaller, whatever you want it to be. So the reason behind why you would want to manually move around dimensions yourself is if you're in a situation when you have kind of like a little profile and you have a bunch of different lines, you want to kind of move it around yourself before you use the Smart Dimensions, because when you throw in a couple dimensions, you might actually really kind of like screw up your sketch. So I'm just going to show you a little example. So say I had a sketch such as this here. And say I know that once I put a dimension between this point and this point, whatever, just as an example, it's going to screw up the profile of this sketch. So instead of throwing in that dimension, and I know it's going to mess up what it's actually going to look like, because say I might have some lines such as this like overlapping after I put in the dimension, instead of putting in the dimension there, I'd actually just raise all this up and then put the dimension in to move that line up. But if I didn't do that and I put the dimension in and say everything was like this, there's no possible way to dimension these lines to go back on top of here. Because when I'm putting a dimension in here, I'll just show you, between here and here, there's no way to flip this line onto that side. So, you know, I'm doing 15, it's going to move 15. If I put negative 15, it's not going to accept it. It needs a positive number. So the only way of actually moving that line on top there is by physically moving it up. So just by manipulating some lines like this, you're able to make sure that the sketch and the profile that you're trying to make is going to be correct, and that you don't run into a situation such as this where the lines are overlapping and you're able to do nothing. So that concludes our tutorial on how to manually adjust sketches within SOLIDWORKS.